right around this great state, whether you're in Banana, down in Albany, or here at Kings Park. Western Australians everywhere are taking the opportunity to turn out for a dawn service as we all stand as one as a community, to remember those who served, those who lost their lives, but also to remember why we are here, and that is for peace. Now I'll hand you over to Paul Pepperley.
Thanks, Cameron. ANZAC Day, the ANZAC legend, the ANZAC legacy is something that every Australian can embrace, and it is the one thing that all of us can get together behind and bring us all together with. The sacrifice of the ANZACs and their legacy of self-sacrifice, giving oneself over on behalf of others, is something that we can all live in our lives today, and it should be, in the times that we confront now, something that we reflect upon. The recent passing of Arthur Leggett should bring to front of mind the fact that we are beneficiaries of many generations of those who've gone before us, sacrificed much, and in many cases gave their lives so that we can be the live in this society that we have today. And in the times that we confront now, we should be prepared to step forward and ensure that we come together and confront any challenges in the same way as the ANZACs did in previous generations, and the many servicemen and women who've gone before us stood ready to defend our way of life and our freedoms. This evening we'll be attending the Len Hall game, and for the first time the best on ground will be awarded the Arthur Leggett Medal. It's a fitting tribute to that great Western Australian and that great Australian, and I look forward to attending the evening. You got any questions at all?
I understand there was a heckler during the Welcome to Country this morning. How disappointing is that?
Oh yeah, I really don't want to acknowledge that individual too much, other than to say he's. It's disgraceful that someone.
The experience of World War II is leaving us now, isn't it? When you look at the world today, do you think we're in danger of forgetting what it's like to have a global conflict that engulfs the world? And are we? You've both spoken about the apprehension about peace. You know, do you fear that that's really in danger now?
I think we have to, in reflecting on Arthur's passing, we've got to consider the need to have the same sort of national unity, the cohesion, the sense of purpose, and the willingness to step forward and defend our system of government, our beliefs, and our nation. I think that's something that we should all be considering. It is an uncertain world, and it's in many ways, if you look at what's happening now around the world, there are a lot of similarities between, particularly to the time leading to the Second World War. Very concerning environment. I actually think that the ANZAC legacy, the ANZAC spirit, and that sense of sacrifice of self for the common good, that's something that we should all embrace as a part of being Australian. It's something that we have the benefit of it, and it's the one thing that can unify all of us. Whether you're born here or you came here, that's something that you can embrace and own, and it will assist in national unity at the time when we need it the most.
Minister, where does your mind wander to at that time in between the last post and rebellion? What are your thoughts consistent?
I think I actually reflect. I did an ANZAC day in Iraq in 2003, a dawn service, and I returned to that a little. That was a moment we were embedded with 3 Commando Brigade of the Royal Marines, and we offered an invitation for the Brits to attend our service, but they had to limit how many would attend. They had to say that only those with direct descendants who were at Gallipoli could go, because, and that was of itself that was more than 50 or 60 individuals. But had they allowed them all to come, then we would have had an enormous number. And our diving team was pretty small, so they didn't want to overwhelm it. But remembering that service at that time, so in the Middle East, not far from that part of the world where the first ANZACs went ashore from at Gallipoli, and many of them were Western Australians. The 11th Battalion had A.B. Facey in it, and those men were in the very first wave that went ashore at Gallipoli. They were Western Australians, and something that you can't help but reflect upon.
Thank you, Minister. Any questions for the Premier?
Premier, just your comments on the heckler as well that was discussed earlier.
Totally inappropriate, totally disrespectful, disgusting. This is a solemn occasion. It's one where we should come together as a community, and for someone to use it to make a political point, and in that disrespectful way is really quite unacceptable. Beauty. No questions of NRL? I'm out of here.
I guess, what sort of return on investment does the economic modelling show for the NRL?
Oh, well, look, as I said, we are having positive conversations with the NRL at the moment. Those conversations are continuing. We are yet to receive a formal response from the NRL. I understand they have a number of processes that they need to go through. If we are in a position to be able to conclude those discussions, we'll provide absolute transparency in relation to the modelling that sits behind it, the arrangements in relation to the agreement.
Is there a timeline on when that announcement might be made? Will it be after the election?
No, the ball's in the NRL court at the moment. As I said, we've made a proposal to them, and they're considering that. And I understand they have a range of processes that they have to go to before they can formally respond.
Has your mind started to wander to, if we do get a team here, about, we don't have gather round, but maybe magic round in the West?
Well, I'm focused on the Lenhall Cup tonight. That's the most important one at the moment. But look, if we have the opportunity to bring another national code to WA, that would be a huge opportunity for Western Australia. It would mean more economic activity. West Aussies love their sport, and we've got a huge following of NRL here in WA. And as you know, we're bloody good at sport. It doesn't matter if you're the Eagles, the Wildcats. We dominate, and I'm sure we can dominate in the NRL as well.
Mr. Cook, the vast majority of home games would be in WA with the WA Bears team.
Well, look, the arrangements in relation to any new team, and I stress, these conversations have not concluded, with regards to a Western Australian franchise. That will be run by the NRL. The form in which that takes, whether it involves the Bears or some other arrangement, is entirely up to them.
Could there be 1 or 2 games in North Sydney? Because, of course, the rivalry between the Bears and Manly is well known.
Well, look, I'll back any team against Manly. No, I won't say that. These conversations haven't concluded yet, and we haven't even got to any sort of discussions around the format or the arrangements for the WA franchise, if one is to happen. That is a matter for the NRL, but obviously we'd welcome any opportunity to bring great sport content to Western Australia and the visitors and the economic activity that comes with it.
Did you look back to the late 90s to learn anything from the 3-year stint that the Western Reds spent in the ARL and the Super Rugby?
Well, I've got very bitter memories from the Western Reds. They were a great side. I loved them. We were so excited when they were here, and we were all bitterly disappointed when they eventually got knocked off by the what was it called, Super League, was it, or something like that? Yeah. And so we're determined to make sure that doesn't happen again. That's why we've negotiated so hard in relation to these conversations. We didn't want to be treated as a cash cow. We don't want to be taken advantage of, and we don't want to be just assume that NRL can walk in and make assumptions. We are working hard to bring NRL to WA. It'll be great if it happens, but it has to represent value for money for WA taxpayers, and it has to represent a good opportunity for Western Australia.
Can I just get the Minister on something?
Of course.
Today, just GPS monitoring. Can you shed any light on how Corrective Services isn't able to provide GPS monitoring for FDV offenders in regional areas? Is that purely technical?
GPS monitoring is possible around the state, but there are some locations just as a consequence of lack of coverage that you can't employ it, or it can be intermittent. So that is a challenge. We're a third of the continent, and it's just anyone moving themselves around the state trying to use a telephone will understand that there's not coverage in all locations.
I guess there's some pretty widespread issues though when it comes to offenders and making sure that their victims remain safe. How are you kind of tackling these issues?
So when considering bail, the courts consider the suitability of an individual, and their first priority should be community safety. And if the individual is deemed able to be released to bail because it is safe, then other conditions are then applied, and one of which might be an ankle monitor. So the first consideration by the court is whether or not safe.
Now, what's your reaction to the fact that former immigration detainee has been released on bail that allegedly bashed the civilians?
It was disgraceful behaviour that person engaged in. At the time, it's not, and to this day, it's not a state government decision as to whether or not that person gets released. If they offend, the police will respond.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.